Let's be real for a moment, your 20s are often overrated. Everyone makes it seem like this decade is supposed to be the best time of your life, but the truth is, it's filled with mistakes, heartbreaks, and lessons that hit you hard. If I could go back, I'd grab my younger self and shake some sense into me. I'd tell myself to stop wasting time trying to impress people who don't matter and start focusing on what truly does. Trust me, I made every mistake in the book. But those failures taught me the hard truths that no one warns you about when you're young. And that's exactly what I want to share with you today, my personal journey. I used to think I had all the time in the world. I spent weekends chasing what I thought was success, obsessing over what others thought of me. But one night, sitting in my apartment broke, stressed, and realizing none of it mattered, everything clicked. That's when I decided to get serious about my life. Here's the deep truth: your 20s aren't about living your best life, they're about laying the foundation for your future. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you'll stop feeling lost and start building a life that really matters. Brutal truth: people care less about you than you think. This is one of those harsh truths that's both painful and freeing. We grow up thinking that everyone's watching our every move, analyzing our decisions, mistakes, and successes. But in reality, most people are too focused on their own lives to spend much time thinking about yours. You're not the center of anyone else's world. When I was in my 20s, I used to obsess over how others saw me, whether it was at work, at social gatherings, or even online. I was always second-guessing myself. Did I say the right thing? Do they think I'm smart enough? Am I dressed well enough? I remember one time making a small mistake during a work presentation. For weeks I was convinced that everyone was laughing at me behind my back, thinking I was incompetent. I lost sleep over it. But guess what? No one cared. By the next day, everyone had moved on while I was still beating myself up over something no one even remembered. This truth goes beyond just embarrassing moments. Think about social media. We post pictures, updates, and stories, often hoping for validation, likes, or admiration. But the truth is, people scroll past your life the same way you scroll past theirs. They're too busy worrying about how their own posts are being perceived. And just like you forget what you saw 5 minutes ago, they forget too. Here's the reality check: most people are far more concerned with their own lives, insecurities, and problems than they are with yours. They might notice something for a second, but it fades just as quickly. You're not the star of their mental movie, they are. This truth can feel like a blow to your ego, but once you accept it, it's incredibly freeing. When you let go of the idea that people are constantly watching and judging you, you gain a whole new level of confidence. You stop letting the fear of judgment paralyze you. I started wearing what made me feel good, even if it wasn't the latest trend. I began speaking my mind in meetings, no longer afraid of looking foolish. I took risks, knowing that even if I failed, the world would keep turning, and no one would lose sleep over my failures except me. The deep message here is this: when you realize that people care far less about you than you think, you free up so much mental space. You stop living to impress others and start living for yourself. That's where real growth begins. You can take risks, make mistakes, and follow your passions without constantly worrying about what others think. The only opinion that truly matters in your journey is your own. At the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your decisions, your regrets, and your successes. So make choices that align with your values and goals, not with what you think others expect of you. Because most of the time, they're not paying nearly as much attention as you think they are. Truth to your emotions will mislead you. This is one of the hardest lessons to accept, yet it's also one of the most important. Your emotions aren't trustworthy. They're not facts, they're just temporary reactions to what's going on around you. If you let them, they'll lead you down the wrong path over and over again. In my 20s, I made countless decisions based on how I felt at the moment. If I was angry, I'd lash out. If I was sad, I'd isolate myself from those who cared. If I was excited, I'd say yes to things without thinking through the consequences, and every time, my emotions led me into situations I regretted. Don't get me wrong, emotions aren't bad. They can show you how you're responding to the world, and that can be valuable. But the problem comes when we let emotions drive our decisions instead of stopping to think about what's really best for us in the long run. We take anger, for example. I once had a heated argument with a close friend over something trivial. In the heat of the moment, I said things I didn't mean, things that hurt our friendship for years. My anger told me I was right, that my feelings justified my words, but once the storm passed, I was left with nothing but regret. The anger faded, but the consequences lingered. And then there's sadness and frustration. I've been in tough situations where I just wanted to give up on a job, a relationship, a personal goal. I quit things too easily because I let my emotions tell me it wasn't worth the effort. I dropped a project I was passionate about because it felt too hard in the moment. I thought that because I felt defeated, I was defeated. But in hindsight, I learned that emotions often exaggerate the situation. If I had stuck with it, the struggle would have passed, and I would have grown stronger from it. Love is another classic example. We often let our emotions fool us into romanticizing people or situations that aren't right for us. I once stayed in a toxic relationship much longer than I should have because I let my feelings of attachment cloud my judgment. Looking back, I can see how my emotions kept me trapped in something that was damaging my well-being. But here's the Stoic truth: emotions are temporary. They're like storms that pass through your mind. They flare up in response to situations, but they don't last. The problem is that when you make decisions based solely on how you feel, you risk making choices that have long-term consequences based on a short-term state of mind. The key is to recognize your emotions without letting them control you. Emotions are signals. They tell you something, but they don't tell you everything. In Stoicism, the goal is to cultivate inner calm and observe your emotions without letting them rule your actions. This doesn't mean suppressing your feelings, it means seeing them for what they are: passing clouds in your mind. You don't ignore them, but you don't let them dictate what you do. When you take a step back and give yourself time to calm down, you can see things clearly. You can assess the situation and make decisions based on reason, logic, and what truly serves your long-term goals. When you're calm, you can look at your feelings objectively, not just emotionally. You can decide what actions align with your values, rather than being swept up by a passing emotional wave. Here's the deep message: once you realize that your emotions can mislead you, you gain the power to make better decisions. You stop living on autopilot, reacting to every emotional trigger, and you start responding with clarity and intention. Emotions are like the weather: they change quickly, and sometimes without warning. But just as you wouldn't build your life based on the weather forecast, you shouldn't build your life on how you feel in the moment. Trust your reason, not your feelings, to guide you through life's challenges. The sooner you master this, the more control you'll have over your life. Truth 3: your circle will get smaller. In your 20s, it's easy to believe that the friendships you have will last forever. You think that the fun times, shared memories, and deep connections will hold strong through anything. But as you grow, change, and face new challenges, you'll realize that friendships, like everything else in life, require effort, alignment, and sometimes tough decisions. People's paths diverge, priorities shift, and what once seemed unbreakable can start to fade. It's not personal, it's just life. In my 20s, I thought my circle of friends would always stay the same. But as the years passed, I saw that circle get smaller. Some friends moved away, others focused on their careers or families, and some simply drifted as our values and interests changed. At first, I felt lost, like I was being left behind. But looking back, I can see that this shrinking circle was completely natural and even necessary. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever. Some people come into your life for a reason: to teach you something, to share a chapter of your journey, or to support you during a specific time. But when that chapter ends, so does the connection. And that's okay. As I got older, I realized I needed friends who aligned with my values, respected my goals, and encouraged my growth. I started letting go of surface-level friendships, and naturally, my circle became smaller but much more meaningful. I learned that quality matters more than quantity. You don't need a massive social circle, you just need a few people who truly care about you. The strength of a friendship isn't measured by how many nights you spent out together. It's about how they stand by you during tough times, how much trust you share, and how they inspire you to become a better person. From a Stoic perspective, external attachments should never become a source of dependency. Friendships should be based on mutual respect and shared values, not on distraction from your own path. A smaller circle means fewer distractions and more space for personal growth and self-improvement. When you let go of friendships that no longer serve your goals, you're not being selfish, you're making room for relationships that truly support your journey. The deep message here is that your circle will get smaller, and that's something to embrace, not fear. The people who remain in your life are there because they're aligned with who you're becoming. They celebrate your victories, comfort you during losses, and challenge you to grow. A shrinking circle isn't a loss, it's a refinement of the people who truly matter. It may feel lonely at times, but as you let go of those who don't align with your path, you'll find yourself surrounded by people who genuinely enrich your life. And in the end, that's worth more than any large social circle. Truth. 4. Discipline outweighs motivation. Motivation can feel like a burst of energy, pushing you to pursue your goals with excitement, but it's unreliable. It comes and goes without warning. Relying on it for progress is like waiting for perfect weather. Before you step outside, you might end up waiting forever. Discipline, however, is steady and dependable. It's the ability to stick with your commitments no matter how you feel. In my 20s, I started projects with enthusiasm but abandoned them when that initial spark faded. I thought I'd pick them back up when I felt inspired again, but I didn't realize that real progress comes from consistent, daily effort. The beauty of discipline is that it doesn't depend on how you feel, it's about showing up every day, regardless of your mood. Over time, this steady action compounds and brings real results, something motivation alone can't achieve. The deep message is motivation may spark a fire, but discipline keeps it burning. By choosing discipline over waiting for motivation, you take control of your path and build the resilience needed to achieve the things that truly matter. Truth 5. You'll fail more than you succeed. Failure is a part of the process. It's not a comforting thought, but it's one of the most liberating truths you'll learn. You're going to fail a lot, more than you'll succeed. But failure isn't just an obstacle, it's a teacher. It shows you where you went wrong, what you can improve, and what it really takes to reach your goals. In my 20s, I was terrified of failure. I saw it as a reflection of my worth, believing that every misstep defined me. This mindset held me back, making me hesitant to take risks or pursue big goals. I eventually learned, though, that each failure is just a stepping stone, bringing you closer to success. Successful people aren't those who never fail, they're the ones who fail repeatedly, learn from it, and keep going. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. His response? I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. That's the mindset you need. The deep message is you'll fail more than you succeed, and that's perfectly fine. Each failure is a lesson preparing you for success. Embrace it. Learn from it, and keep moving forward, because resilience, not perfection, leads to lasting achievement. Truth 6. Perfection is a lie. In your 20s, it's easy to chase an idealized version of life, the perfect career, the perfect relationship, the perfect self. Social media doesn't help either, making perfection seem attainable or even expected. But here's the truth: perfection is an illusion. It's a constantly moving target that can never truly be reached. I used to think that if I worked a little harder or pushed myself more, I could reach that perfect state. I believed success meant having everything together, with no flaws or failures. But every time I came close to perfection, something would shift, revealing new flaws or raising the standards. It became exhausting. I wasn't moving forward. I was stuck in a cycle of self-criticism and unrealistic expectations. Letting go of perfection frees you to grow. When you stop chasing the impossible, you give yourself room to make mistakes, experiment, and learn. Imperfection isn't a setback, it's part of being human. What truly matters is not a flawless result, but the progress and resilience you build along the way. This mindset doesn't mean you should settle for mediocrity, but recognize that progress is a process. Done is better than perfect. The world's most impactful work isn't flawless, it's the work that was finished, shared, and imperfectly real. The deep message is perfection is a lie that only holds you back. Real fulfillment comes from progress, not from trying to reach an impossible standard. Embrace your imperfections because they're often where your greatest strengths lie. Would you like to continue with the next part? Truth 7: Ego will ruin you. Ego is like an invisible anchor, constantly telling you that you're special, unique, and invincible. In your 20s, while you're building your career, relationships, and sense of self, your ego can trick you into believing you don't need advice, that your way is the only way, or that you're above the lessons others had to learn the hard way. But here's the harsh truth: unchecked ego is a trap that holds you back from reaching your true potential. Your ego convinces you that staying comfortable is the same as making progress. It blinds you to reality and hinders your growth. I learned this the hard way. Early in my career, I was convinced I knew best. I turned down advice from colleagues, dismissed feedback, and shut myself off from valuable opportunities to learn. I thought asking for help would make me look weak and admitting ignorance would harm my credibility. But what it really did was isolate me, slow my progress, and keep me repeating the same mistakes. The Stoics warned against ego, seeing it as one of the biggest barriers to wisdom and growth. When consumed by ego, we're driven by pride, defensiveness, and a fear of being exposed. It tells us we're already great and prevents us from recognizing our weaknesses. Ego discourages vulnerability, which is key to meaningful learning and improvement. It doesn't want to face challenges that could expose flaws. Instead, it seeks comfort and recognition, staying within the boundaries of what's familiar and safe. Ironically, those who achieve the most are often the most humble, recognizing that growth requires constant learning and adaptation, even if that means admitting failure or ignorance. Many successful people attribute their achievements to a willingness to ask for help, to listen to others, and to accept that they don't have all the answers. People who embrace humility tend to be resilient, learn from setbacks, adapt quickly, and don't let pride prevent them from seizing opportunities for growth. Letting go of ego doesn't mean lacking confidence or ambition. It means having the courage to ask questions, to listen, and to acknowledge that there's always more to learn. When you release the need to be right or protect your image, you open yourself up to meaningful and lasting growth. The humility to accept your limitations is a true source of strength, allowing you to progress with resilience, not relying on an illusion of perfection. The deep message is ego will ruin you if you let it. Drop the need for validation, embrace humility, and remember that true confidence comes from being open to growth. Letting go of ego isn't a loss, it's a gain that clears the path to your best self. Truth 8: Health is everything. When you're young, health often feels like something you'll always have in reserve. You push your body to its limits, skimp on sleep, and fuel yourself with caffeine and convenience foods, thinking you'll get serious about your health later. But here's the truth: without good health, nothing else really matters. You can have money, success, relationships, and goals, but without your physical and mental well-being, it all starts to lose its meaning. In my 20s, I remember prioritizing everything but my health. I'd pull all-nighters, skip meals, or rely on quick fixes to keep up with a busy schedule, thinking I was invincible. What I didn't realize was that I was slowly chipping away at my energy, focus, and resilience. Over time, those little compromises add up and take their toll. You might not feel it immediately, but years of poor sleep, bad eating habits, and stress will catch up with you. Health isn't just about avoiding illness, it's the foundation for everything you want to achieve. Good health gives you the energy to pursue your goals, the clarity to make better decisions, and the resilience to handle life's ups and downs. When you take care of your body and mind, you're building a solid foundation that supports every other aspect of your life. The truth is, investing in your health now will save you countless regrets and expenses in the future. It's easy to take our bodies for granted when everything seems fine, but the habits you build now will either reward or haunt you later. The late nights, stress, and neglect don't just vanish, they accumulate. What you eat, how often you move, how much you sleep, and how you manage stress are all daily choices that shape your future. Mental health is just as important. Ignoring stress, pushing through burnout, or bottling up emotions can lead to long-term health issues that become increasingly difficult to undo. Taking the time to care for your mind through self-reflection, rest, mindfulness, or seeking help when needed isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. The deep message is health truly is everything. Without it, life becomes limited, and even the simplest joys are hard to appreciate. The small acts of self-care you do today are investments that pay off over a lifetime. When you treat your body and mind as priceless resources, you set yourself up not just for success, but to live fully. Would you like to continue with the next section? Truth: 9 material things won't bring happiness. It's easy to believe that happiness lies just on the other side of the next purchase: the designer clothes, the latest tech, the bigger apartment, the dream car. Society constantly tells us that more is the path to fulfillment. In our 20s, many of us chase after these things, thinking they'll make us happy. But here's the hard truth: material things only bring fleeting pleasure. The excitement of a new purchase fades quickly, and the satisfaction we get from possessions is almost always temporary. I remember saving up for things I thought would make me feel accomplished: buying the new phone, the high-end shoes, the nice apartment furnishings. For a brief moment, I'd feel that satisfaction, but it didn't take long before I was craving the next thing, the next upgrade. This cycle of consumerism is endless. No matter what you acquire, there's always something else that seems just a bit better, something that promises to complete you. But the reality is, material things often leave us emptier than we started because they can't fill the deeper needs we're truly after. True happiness doesn't come from what you have, it comes from who you are, the quality of your relationships, experiences, and inner growth. Studies show that once basic needs are met, additional wealth and possessions don't significantly increase happiness. What truly makes people feel fulfilled are experiences, connections, and personal growth, things money alone can't buy. When we rely on material things for happiness, we end up on a hedonic treadmill, constantly seeking the next thing to maintain a feeling that's always slipping away. And the worst part, when your happiness is tied to possessions, it's fragile. They can be lost, damaged, or replaced, and they often don't live up to the expectations we attach to them. Happiness tied to things is always temporary and out of reach. In contrast, satisfaction comes from experiences and personal connections: spending time with loved ones, learning new things, working on personal goals, or giving back to others. These things create lasting fulfillment that doesn't fade like material possessions. When you focus on these, you find that your life becomes richer, not from having more, but from needing less. The deep message is material things can make life comfortable, but they can't make it meaningful. True happiness comes from within and is built on relationships, experiences, and growth. When you stop seeking joy in what you can buy and start investing in who you are, you find a type of happiness that's real, lasting, and entirely yours. Truth: 10 sacrifices are necessary. If you want to achieve something meaningful, you'll have to make sacrifices. This is one of those hard truths that can be tough to accept in your 20s, a time when you want to experience everything life has to offer without limitations. But the reality is that real progress, success, and growth often come with a cost, and learning to prioritize what matters most requires letting go of what doesn't serve those priorities. For years, I believed I could have it all without giving anything up. I tried to juggle everything: work, social life, personal hobbies, believing that it was possible to fully commit to every area of my life at once. But eventually, I realized that spreading myself too thin meant I wasn't making meaningful progress anywhere. I ended up tired, stressed, and feeling like I was just treading water. To move forward, I had to make some tough choices, saying no to things that distracted me from my goals and letting go of habits that didn't support where I wanted to be. Every meaningful achievement, whether it's building a career, pursuing a passion, or fostering deep relationships, demands time, energy, and focus. To truly excel in one area, you have to prioritize it. And that means sacrificing time or energy that might otherwise go towards something more immediately enjoyable. Think of an athlete training for a competition. They sacrifice nights out, indulgent meals, and sometimes even friendships to maintain their regimen. The same goes for anyone building something of value. There's often a silent trade-off that others don't see. Life in your 20s is a whirlwind of discovery, ambition, and sometimes missteps. These truths aren't meant to hold you back but to free you. By understanding them now, you can avoid the painful lessons that so many learn the hard way. Embrace the reality that life isn't about perfection, it's about growth, resilience, and purpose. Take each of these truths and build your foundation as you work towards a life that's not just successful, but meaningful. The journey isn't always easy, but it's worth it. So take a breath, embrace the challenges, and know that each step you take is one closer to the life you're meant to live. Thanks for watching, and here's to living boldly, learning deeply, and growing into the best version of yourself. See you in the next one.